Hi, friends. My name is Chris Ahern, and I am Director of Partnerships here at Reach the World, and I am so excited to be with you today. We are here with another exciting installment of Reach the World's incredible virtual exchange experience, connecting live with the crew and explorers aboard the SA Agulhas as they search for the Endurance, which was crushed and sunk in pack ice over 100 years ago. The SA Agulhas has actually just crossed the Antarctic Circle, and they are steaming their way toward that amazing wreck site. I actually heard very recently that they have been seeing whales and they're seeing icebergs. This expedition is happening. It really feels as though it's happening. And before I bring in my friend Tim and the folks that Tim has brought together with him for today's live stream all about helicopters, I do want to make one quick mention. Now we are connecting with the Agulhas as it is in the Arctic Circle. So that means we might run into some tech issues. There might be some things like, oh, I don't know, the audio might not be perfect, or we might have to lose someone in the middle of a live stream on this one or in future ones. We have some pretty good technology aboard the ship, but guess what? We are in uncharted territory, both literally and figuratively. And we're so excited to explore and succeed and see all of the wonderful things that is going to happen today and in the future. So with that, I want to introduce you all to a person you all know very well at this point, my friend and colleague, Tim Jacob, and as well as some of the other folks that he is speaking with on board the Agulhas today, most notably as we talk all about the helicopters that are going to be helping the crew aboard the SA Agulhas II build ice camps to help look for Shackleton's ship. So with that being said, Tim, hi, welcome.
Hey, Chris. Welcome aboard the SA Agulhas II. It is so great to be connecting with you. Like Chris said, we just crossed the Antarctic Circle, which is super exciting. It's an imaginary line, but it is the line at which during the winter months, the sun never rises, and the summer months, the sun never sets beneath that. And it's just so exciting to be here. It feels like we've entered into a magical world, surrounded by whales and icebergs, and it just really feels like we're in the Antarctic. It's a great feeling, but we'll get into that a little bit more as we dig deeper into the Weddell Sea later this week and next. I'm so excited today to have a special guest with me today. I've got Michiel here. He is in charge of all the helicopter operations for the Endurance22 Expedition. Right now we are joining you live from the helicopter hangar aboard the ship, which is where you store the helicopters when you're not using them. And I feel really lucky to have Michiel today because we are just getting ready to unstrap these helicopters after a long, rough ocean voyage and put them into use. So Michiel, welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. We're all very excited on the ship. We've just packed the first helicopter ready for deployment. So we will be out tomorrow morning on our first flight.
Excellent. Can you tell us a little bit about how you became a helicopter pilot, what you find interesting about being a pilot?
I've always loved aviation. I started flying once I left school, did my license, got into aviation straight away. It's the only thing I know, it's the only thing I want to do. You always follow your passion. And yeah, I'm 12 years down the line, I'm still busy with it, and that's nothing. I won't do anything else.
And where is your home?
I'm from Pretoria, Johannesburg, South Africa. Our company is also based in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we've been on a couple of these voyages before.
All right, so this is not your first time to the Weddell Sea, to Antarctica.
Yeah, it's second time to Weddell Sea, but to Antarctica, we do these expeditions every year.
Okay. Well, let's take a look. I know this helicopter that we can see behind you is kind of your baby on board the ship. Can you tell us a little bit about this helicopter?
So it's a Bell 412 helicopter. We can take 13 passengers in this helicopter. For this voyage, we're only going to limit our passengers to 9 passengers because we do have a lot of scientific equipment that we need to fly. It's a twin engine, multi-engine, multi-crew helicopter. So for this operation, you need redundancies for everything. So it's 2 pilots, 2 engines, just to be extra safe. but it's quite a big helicopter and absolutely fantastic machine to use for this kind of job.
So once we get to the Weddell Sea and we start using the helicopter, how are we going to be using this helicopter?
So we're initially going to start flying scientists on the ice so they can do all scientific research that they need to do. And then from there on, we're going to start building camps on the ice so that the expedition leaders can try and search for the Endurance 22 or the Endurance. So we'll do a multi-role flying passengers, and then also we'll be slinging equipment onto the ice at a later stage so they can drill the ice and sink the submarine that they need to use for the wreck site.
All right. One of the things that we've done in the last few days to prepare for these helicopter operations is to weigh everybody on a scale and weigh all of their equipment so that we know, as we're building out these flights, how much weight there's going to be. Why is that important?
It's important for us just to calculate our fuel that we can carry on board. There is a maximum limit that we may carry, so we just need making sure that we're under that limit at all times. Also, the lower the passenger weights are, the more fuel we can take, which means the longer we can fly.
All right. And it has to be kind of special flying and landing on ice. What does that feel like? You've done it before. What can we expect?
We treat it as a normal landing, but there is a moment where you look down and it's a bit surreal that you're landing basically on water. We try not to think of it, but it's a special moment. We are in a very special place.
All right, can we take a peek inside the helicopter over here? Why don't we walk over here? All right. So this is sort of the back passenger area, right?
Yeah, we've got an extra fuel tank. At the moment, we've got 4 seats in it, and then all the scientific equipment on that side already packed and ready for the first flight.
All right, yeah, you can see a sled through there that will go out with the scientists. You guys are all ready to go for the first one, aren't you?
Already.
All right, and then let's move to the front. Oh my goodness, look who we found in the pilot seat already. I don't think that's gonna work. SEALs can't fly helicopters. This is the cockpit. And like Michiel was saying, there's room for 2 pilots. And all flights will have 2 pilots, correct?
Yeah, 2 pilots. Let me get some lights on fire.
Tim, I assume the seal is helping right now, right?
Yeah, you can hear the electronics on board the helicopter starting to fire up. Oh, there we go. See, the dashboard is lit up.
It's now all ready to go.
All ready to go. Fantastic, beautiful.
Tim, can
So I think I speak.
Sorry, Tim.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you and Michiel could maybe describe a few of the different, now that we can see the instrument panel all lit up, what are some of the things that instrument panel is actually showing us?
Sure. Actually, the power just went down again. But Michiel, can you tell us what some of the most important controls are on this dashboard here? I mean, obviously there's the control stick. Not sure I'm using the right word for it.
Yeah, so we've got a cyclic, we call it a cyclic, collective. This is basically up and down movement. And then you've got your pedals down there. So that's your 3 main controls on the helicopter. On the gauges, we normally just monitor temperatures and pressures. But your 3 main controls are your cyclic, collective, and your pedals.
What do you use the pedals for?
So the pedals is control your yaw. So when the nose will turn left to right, you can use the pedals just to stay in a straight line.
Okay. Excellent. So this Bell helicopter is just one helicopter we have on board. Can we go take a look at the other one?
Yeah, sure.
This helicopter is very unique and has aroused a lot of interest from everybody on the ship. So let's take a look at this one. What is this helicopter?
So this is a K-Max heavy lift helicopter. And it's also from the United States. And she can lift 6,000 pounds.
All right, I've heard it described as an air truck.
It's basically an air truck.
Yeah, for the heavy moving. It's kind of, here, let me go around the front, because the thing that I think is very unique about this helicopter is its shape. You have got room for one pilot, and then you've got two sets of blades at the top. They're going overhead right now. And I can't wait to see this in action, because just by looking at it, I can't really understand how the blades are going to work, but I've been assured that they're going to work great.
Tim, how long are those blades?
On the K-Max, I think each blade is about 7 meters, and they're made out of wood.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a little more than 21 feet for those of us in the States.
They're very long. They're made out of spruce wood, because spruce is the material that has the right amount of flexibility and durability for their use, and they're handmade. I heard the pilots talking at dinner the other night that it takes several months to make one blade for this helicopter, and it's just really, really unique looking. And we're primarily going to use it for moving of cargo, right?
Yeah.
What kinds of things will we be lifting with the K-Max?
We'll be lifting an
Tim, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I think we've lost a little bit of audio and video from you. Friends, like I said, this is what happens when we get to connect with the SA Agulhas II as it goes through as it's already gone through the Antarctic Circle. We cannot control technology, and that's one of the really special things that we can encounter. So yeah, we have lost him just for the moment, and I'm sure we'll be able to get him back very, very soon. But those of you who are watching us live, I do want to give you this chance to think about what we've already seen today. That K-Max helicopter is the funniest looking helicopter I think I have ever seen. And they consider it a truck. It has 21-foot long blades, and it has two sets of rotors that spin. I cannot wait to see video of what this thing looks like in the air. Those of you who are following us, whether it's live or later on on demand in the future, make sure to Google and look up that K-Max helicopter. I think it's going to be something really fantastic to see. I can't wait to see them dropping that onto the ice and bringing all the equipment that they'll need to set up the ice camps. Tim was saying right before we got started that this was the last time that we could have been able to have this conversation with Michiel and to be able to see the helicopters, because starting first thing tomorrow morning, their time, not our time here in the States, they're going to be using those helicopters, flying them out and getting this whole thing started. So that's really something. That's really exciting. It's really an amazing opportunity for us to be able to see this right before all of this is going to happen. And I'm so excited. We have Tim and Michiel back. So welcome back, guys.
Sorry about that little blip in the connection. I felt the ship shake a little bit, as it's been doing a lot the last couple of days. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yes, we are back, and we were talking about this K-Max helicopter and the things it's going to be lifting. I'm not exactly sure where you left us, but this K-Max is going to be taking, for those of you who remember talking to Chad Bonin and learning about the amazing ROV that we're using to do the subsea search. Basically, this helicopter has a tether underneath it, and you attach whatever you want to carry and bring it right out to the ice camp. Now, there is a possibility that in the next couple of days, we're going to get to the sink site with the ship, right? Yeah. And that's going to be a disappointment for you and a disappointment for me, but everyone else will be really happy because it'll make it easier to search for the wreck. But if the ice proves to be too thick, these helicopters are going to be essential for for getting the equipment to the sink site and getting them to the search area where the Endurance sank.
I have a quick question. So I know you've been planning for all sorts of different situations, especially about if the ice is too thick as you get closer to the wreck site of the Endurance. How far are you? Is the I guess the limit is that the right word for how close do you need to be before you're like, okay, this is close enough where we can start flying in the helicopters?
So we're working out on our rescue capabilities. So the furthest we can go from the ship is 60 miles, because that would be the range for the K-Max to come and fetch us and fly back to the ship with the fuel that it's got on board. So we're planning 60 miles as the furthest we can go from the ship.
So in other words, the K-Max has about 120-mile range, thereabouts, right?
Yeah, it's got a bit more, but we have to sling a lot of equipment underneath it. So 120 is the maximum we're willing to go.
Right.
To
right.
go and fetch people.
So I wanted to make sure we had that math problem in there, so that way for all of our classrooms that are following along, they can maybe plan out like how far is 60 miles from their school, how far is 60 miles to them, and imagine having to go that far. 60 miles from here in New York City, that's a pretty far ways. That is a lot farther than I expected that you would be able to go. That's pretty amazing stuff.
And I can tell you, Chris, for all the math teachers and math classes that are watching, those sorts of calculations are what Michiel and his team have been doing for this past week, working out, not that you hadn't thought about it before we got on the ship, but they're not only figuring out how far we can go with a fuel consumption, they're weighing, as I said, passengers and cargo to make sure that we are underneath weight limits. I've even heard, obviously an expedition like this has risks, and there need to be plans in place for any sort of emergency evacuation. And they know exactly how far it is to the nearest Antarctic research base if we needed to get somebody there. So math plays a huge role in helicopter operations for sure.
It seems like it's a little bit of a puzzle too, because when you're talking about whether it's equipment or people, that you have to that certain people you want to put like light people with heavier people, or light equipment with heavy equipment, to make sure each trip gets as much stuff on there, right? So it's even more complex math problem. I'm just thinking about my math teachers that are out there watching this, there's a lot of fun ways that you can create some really cool word problems just from thinking about that. But it must involve a lot of like puzzling. Do you like to do puzzles, Michiel?
Yeah, it's quite interesting doing it every day. It's a challenge in our environment, and it's something, it keeps it exciting. Every day it's a new challenge, and you never fly the same load twice. So it's very exciting for us.
So when I get to go on the helicopter, since I'm pretty tall, do I have to sit like in the middle or window seat, or?
No, we've got pretty much the same space in all the seats, so you can sit anywhere.
All right, excellent.
Tim, that means you have to get a window seat so we can get as many pictures as possible.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna want a window seat. I'm a window seat guy for sure. Plenty to see out the windows here.
That's so great. So this is a chance to tell all of our friends who are watching this live. This is the opportunity for you to start putting your questions in the chat, and to start thinking about what questions that you want to ask Michiel and Tim as we have them. Like I said, this is the last chance that we could have been able to speak and learn about what it takes to get these helicopters together and to do all of this work, because starting right away, first thing tomorrow, this is the next piece of the expedition that is underway and working. So get those questions in, and we can start asking them. I have a question just to start with, and Michiel, I know you briefly mentioned this before about how this is, you've started flying after finishing school, but I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about that. So I know you've trained as a pilot, but have you done any other training? I'm thinking like something like engineering. You have to know a lot about how these helicopters work, not just how to fly them, right?
we don't really go into engineering. It's more a pilot's course, but you do get very technical. You need to learn the machine inside and out. You need to understand all the systems. When there's an emergency, you need to know exactly what systems are in use, how to isolate systems. So it gets really technical on the machine. On this 412, for example, we've got 8 fuel tanks. So you just need to understand how the fuel flow works, which tanks will burn first. So there's a lot to it.
Can you explain where, I know as we were on the dockside in Cape Town, there was helicopter fuel being pumped into the ship. Where is that fuel now and how do you get it into the helicopter?
So there's a inboard tank on the ship. I think they can take a capacity of 150,000 liters. The fuel comes up with a nozzle to the heli deck, so we can pump fuel on the heli deck. But the ship also has other ways of pumping the fuel out, because a lot of the bases in Antarctica also use Jet A1 or jet fuel because it doesn't freeze like normal fuel does. So they do carry a lot of jet fuel on board internally, and then they can offload it in several ways. But we've got a nozzle on the heli deck for us.
Okay.
And so
Do you have to turn the helicopter off to refuel it?
No, we can keep it running and we can fuel. We just don't have any passengers on board.
Okay.
So, and we've got the 5 guys on standby.
That's good.
That's an important step. I had
Yeah.
so I was just thinking of one question, because I think I know the answer, but just to make sure that everyone at home learns just as much as I do about this, is that so this is a special type of fuel. You said it was Jet A1. How is that different than the gasoline that we use and put in our cars and trucks, whether it's in Johannesburg, where you're from, or here in the States?
So it burns at a very high temperature, and it's also got an antifreeze in it. So it won't easily freeze if you take it to altitude where the temperatures will drop. Where a normal car fuel will normally freeze and make like a jelly type of consistency, where the Jet A1 won't do that. It will always stay in liquid form. It also burns at a higher temperature because our engines temperatures go up to 900 degrees Celsius. So we need the fuel to burn at those temperatures.
Wow.
That is very, very, very hot.
Very hot.
I'm just doing the quick math in my head in terms of Celsius to Fahrenheit, but that is well over 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take. That is a lot. So we did get a question from the chat. Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry,
no, you go
there's
ahead,
one other
Tim.
thing I thought the kids might enjoy seeing over here by the side of the helicopter. There's sort of a work area where the helicopter crews, the engineers, have been, maintaining these craft throughout the journey and will continue to do so with increasing use over the weeks to come. There were before some flight suits over here. I know that there's some sort of special flight suit and helmet that the pilots will wear. But it's really interesting to me to know that we have on board the SA Agulhas II right now. If the helicopters are to be used in an ice camp scenario, these helicopters are expected to be flying almost around the clock for the next 2 weeks, moving equipment across the ice, bringing passengers back and forth. It's been kind of the calm period now, if you call this ocean crossing calm for the helicopters, but things are about to get very, very busy back here in the stern of the SA Agulhas II.
Wow. Yeah. And Tim, I know you and I were talking about this just before we went live, that it is calm right now in terms of the seas that you're on, but it was a little bit rougher not too long ago. And as you were panning over toward the behind you to that workstation, I noticed that not only is it clean, but everything is nicely strapped in, just like the helicopters are. And I just wanted to point that out, that this isn't just a normal workstation. And I've been in enough classrooms in my life to know that things are typically just all over the place. I'm looking at my desk right here and seeing all the things that are strewn about. That is not something that you can do when you're aboard a ship that is constantly rocking and rolling. So, just something to point out.
And you know, like in the heaviest waves, when we were sitting eating dinner, you could see the soup going like this in the bowl as the ship was rocking. The SA Agulhas II is built for very efficiently going through ice, but it's kind of like a side-to-side bobber in the high seas. So there was a lot of rocking. And as it pertains to the helicopters, these are pretty delicate pieces of machinery. Michiel and his colleagues have been doing, checking regularly, tightening straps, making sure that everything is secured so that if we hit a big wave and the ship really rocks, nothing gets broken.
Just yet another amazing thing that you don't think about until you do, and then you're just even more impressed with how the expedition, the crew aboard the ship, everyone is just working together, trying to pay attention to every little fine detail. It is something that I remember when we were working with the SA Agulhas II and some of the same crew and expeditionary team in 2019 for the Weddell Sea expedition. It was always impressive to me how everyone works so well together, and that must be so hard, but I'm just so impressed with all of those little things that you all are able to do. Now, we do have a question from the chat, and the question is one I think we all know the answer to, so I'm going to modify it a little bit. So the question is, have you gotten there yet? And I know that we're getting close because you just crossed that line for the Antarctic Circle. So maybe you could tell us roughly how far away are you right now from the wreck site, and in how many days are you? And obviously, ice notwithstanding, how long do we think it'll be before we start really getting close to the wreck site?
You know the answer to this one?
We're estimating to be on the ice shelf tonight, 8 o'clock UTC. Getting to the wreck site will depend on the ice, but from this morning's forecast, they said it could be 2 to 3 days to get us onto the wreck site, depending on the ice flows and a lot of variables on the ice.
And that really ties into, Chris, what you were just saying about the cooperation between teams on this expedition. Right before actually we started, the space behind us in the hangar was full of scientists, and Michiel was leading a briefing about the first flights that we're going to go out tomorrow to set up some of the scientists on the ice. So the helicopter crews have been in touch with the ice monitoring scientists. Everybody's in touch with the captain and the navigators on board the SA Agulhas II. Everybody needs to sort of work together because one thing can't happen without information from other parties.
It's just so amazing because when we think about the Endurance, we think about Ernest Shackleton and how amazing he was as an explorer and as a leader, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to locate Endurance itself. But if it wasn't for not just Shackleton, but all the other people on board the ship, they wouldn't have made it out of Antarctica under just incredible circumstances. And I think in the same way, there's no way that you all are going to be able to not only find the Endurance, which is, knock on wood, I really hope is going to happen in the next few days or couple of weeks, but also to complete the incredible research that is happening on board the ship as well. It's really amazing to see the teamwork and the unity that everyone has to do this work. We got another question from the chat, and I think this is a really good one because I think we talked about it a little bit before about the range of the helicopter, because we can't go, like, it's not just like you run out of fuel in a car where it's like, oh, I ran out of fuel in my car and I'm on the side of the road until AAA can come and fill me up. But someone does want to know, how far can the helicopter go before running out of fuel? And maybe you can tell us the K-Max versus the other one and maybe how the ranges differ and why.
So on the K-Max, they can do about 240 miles, pretty much maximum range. On the Bell 412, we plan on 300 miles, 320 miles maximum range. So that's pretty much what we can do. We've got an extra fuel tank in there, which will extend it to about 350 miles if we really, really have to.
And some
And would
of
you
that,
would you fill all those tanks all the way every time? Do you bring all the fuel you can every time you take off?
Well, it depends on the load that we're also flying. That's why we're weighing everyone to see how much fuel we can take. We'll try and take as much fuel as we can, but we also need to stay in limits. So luckily, we're not planning on flying more than 120 miles at a time. So half tanks should be enough for us.
and your fuel consumption is going to be different depending on how much stuff you're carrying, right? That if it's just the two pilots, is your range different than if it was fully loaded?
Not really. On the helicopter, it burns fairly constantly. So on the Bell 412, we burn 750 pounds an hour, and it's pretty constant. If you're flying a ton of cargo or no cargo, you pretty much burn 750 pounds an hour all round.
750 pounds of fuel?
Of fuel an hour.
Okay.
There's another math
Just
problem
over
there.
Yeah, right. I'm doing the calculations in my head. Like, I've never heard fuel measured by weight.
Yeah, we measure it by weight, but it's just over 200-liter drums that you burn in an hour.
Okay.
That's a lot of fuel. I'm just imagining now that the 200-liter drums, those big containers, just an hour of that much fuel. That's incredible. But it's really interesting. I guess I'm thinking just because of the car that I drive, the heavier the car is, the more strain it puts on the engine. But I think it's really interesting that it doesn't really matter, and because of how efficient the motor is.
Chris, let me show you one more thing about this hangar that I find really interesting, and I think students would too. So it looks, for all purposes, like we are in a room right now, right? It's nice and quiet. You can't hear a lot of noise, but obviously helicopters don't fly from inside a room. This has to be really accessible to the back. You can see some massive doors back here. And if we were to open these doors, you would see Michiel's going to open it. This is the magic of virtual exchange, everyone. We're going to show you it live. So be prepared. Remember, we're at the stern of the ship.
And I want everyone to remember when Tim says the stern of the ship, what part of the ship, what direction on the ship that means. So hopefully you can remember. I think we'll probably figure it out by the time the door opens.
You see that door opening behind the K-Max?
Wow.
So if there's a little bit of brightness back there, but you could see there's a big landing pad with a big H on it that looks like, your standard helicopter landing pad, but it's way at the back of the ship. It's pretty bright. You might be able to see some of the wake of the SA Agulhas back there as we motor along towards the ice pack.
Tim, unfortunately, I don't think we can. We see the light out there, and that's pretty much it, at least from my vantage point. But we can tell it's.
The light contrast is pretty different, so you might not be able to see it. But I mean, when it's time for these helicopters to get going, they are going to I believe they can be wheeled, right? Yep. So you can see obviously the K-Max is on wheels. The Bell is on wheels. And they will just be rolled right out of these hangars onto the helipad where they can get their fuel, and they will be all ready to take off.
Wow, that's amazing. Tim, I know that we've seen some pictures before where we've seen that the big helipad on the stern of the Agulhas, but we got to make sure that this is a good reminder to everyone that in addition to these amazing live streams that we know that so many classrooms are enjoying, both live and on demand, to constantly be checking reachtheworld.org for the journey page of the Endurance 22 Expedition, because Tim has been sharing incredible video, conversations with other people, all the recorded live streams that we've already done, and also other content about what all of the different things that are happening on board. So I know for a fact that we'll have a lot of content in the coming days of exactly what Tim was describing about wheeling those helicopters out and seeing that age live and in person for the for us to be able to capture on board our journey page. So this is a reminder to everyone, especially to those of you who are watching in the future, that go to reachtheworld.org, check out the Endurance22 journey page and see all of the content, not just this amazing live stream.
Yeah, well, so far the helipad has been one of the prime spots for whale watching, but after today, I think it's going to be a place that is just for helicopters and for passengers when they start heading out. And the great thing is that if we do the ice camp scenario, I believe there will be several chances for myself to take a ride with Michiel or one of his colleagues on this Bell passenger helicopter and go to the ice camps and get a chance to show you that live, because that's really going to be something.
Tim, can you tell us just a little bit, since I know Michiel, you and your team and the scientists are working right now to begin that work with the scientists. Can you tell us just a little bit about some of the work that the scientists, if you know what they're planning to be doing, as they're getting started on this camp?
Yeah, well, what will you do when you drop off I don't know if you're flying them, but what will you do with the group that was just out here?
Yeah, so the first group will drop off tomorrow morning sometime, as close as possible to the wreck site. They will have a snow or ice buoy with them, which they will plant on the ice. And that will give us live tracking of the ice flow in the Weddell Sea over the wreck site. So we'll be able to map the flow and how the ship could get there and the flow over the next couple of days. So that is our main mission with the scientists. They'll also bring back ice samples so we can measure the depth of the ice, and also what the ice looks like on the site, so we can plan a bit ahead.
Friends, I think we might have just encountered a slight technical difficulty one more time, but I was about to jump in anyway, just to mention and add in something to what Michiel was saying, which is to me really, really fascinating stuff. That one thing that we want to remember, the difference between Antarctica and the Arctic is that Antarctica is a continent, so it is land. It is the same thing that we're all standing on and going to school on and everything like that. It is land. However, the area where Endurance wrecked was not the land of Antarctica. It's in the Weddell Sea itself, but it's ice. So when Michiel was talking about landing before on the ice, he's talking about flying a helicopter and landing it right on the ocean, right on the ice. And in addition to that, you can imagine that what the scientists are doing is that they're going to camp on that stuff. So effectively, they're kind of camping on an ice cube. So if you imagine your glass of water with an ice cube on top of it, it is floating. That is a big, massive ice cube, but it is floating, and so it is going to drift in the Weddell Sea. It's going to be moving around a little bit, and so they're going to be tracking where it's moving as they're on it, so they can understand where they need to be and all of that really cool, fun stuff. I mean, this is really exciting. I know we're all excited about searching specifically for Sir Ernest Shackleton's ship, but to understand all of the science, all of the expertise, and all of the work that goes into just getting there. They haven't even gotten there yet, and look at all the work that they're doing. It's really fantastic, and I used to be a social studies teacher, but to my friends who are all math teachers out there, there's so many fun math problems for us to calculate that range that Michiel was talking about for the different helicopters. And so for every hour, this is a good math problem for all of you out there. So if he said that it burns about 750 pounds of fuel, he mentioned that the type of jet fuel it was. So if we can maybe figure out by looking online how much that jet fuel weighs, maybe we can figure out how long the helicopter can stay in the air. And then from there, we can learn a little bit more, not just about its range, but just specifically how long the helicopter can stay off the ground. And why the range is so important. And Michiel mentioned this just briefly before, that if we run out of gas in our car, we can just pull over to the side and wait for AAA to come get us. But helicopter can't do that. Helicopter has to land. And so you have to be really, 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 really careful about those things. So I do want to wait just one more moment. We're running a little bit low on time here anyway, but I do want to wait one more moment to see if we can get Tim and Michiel back, just so we can say thank you and close things up today. But this is a chance for any last minute questions that we can ask before we transition to the next bit of content, exciting live streams that we have coming tomorrow with our friends at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. I believe we also have one on Wednesday, and then I'll be coming back on Thursday to host another live stream as well. We're going to be doing lots of events over the next couple of weeks because the hunt is underway. We have all of these exciting opportunities, all these scientists, all these engineers, the crew on board, all of these people who are participating in, and we want to be able to take full advantage of what that means for us. And so we're working as hard as we can to get as many events, and with this one as well as those in the future, every single one of these events you can watch live, and we're sending out the events through our email and through our social media. So you can watch them live, but also we put all of them on demand immediately after this. So on YouTube, those of you who are watching on YouTube, as soon as this ends, you can watch it on demand. So if you didn't quite understand something that I was saying or something that Tim or Michiel was saying, guess what? You can just watch it right away again and check exactly what it is. And you can also email us and let us know what questions that you might have. And we'll do our best to get those questions answered through my friend Tim. So I'm not sure if we're going to get Tim back here today, but I know we're going to have Tim back first thing tomorrow on a live stream, and I'll be speaking with Tim again with another special guest on Thursday. So what we'll do here is I just want to express my sincere thanks and appreciation for all of you who are watching this either live here, participating in the YouTube chat, but also hello in the future to those of you who are watching this on the recording. And we are so excited to share this experience with you, and we will be back in touch and sharing new exciting updates live from Antarctica very, very soon. All right, thank you everyone, and have a great rest of your day.